All right, welcome back to EXP Family Tree, you guys. We're happy to have you here. As always, each month we get to be blessed by the presence of Coach John Dietz talking about all things listings. Today, we're going to be talking about pricing appropriately in a shifting market, having to broach the subject of price changing in a shifting market, so you can get your listings sold and of course, help your clients achieve their goals and get paid as well. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And so be ready to ask any questions. If you have any scenarios going on you'd like to be coached through, we can all learn from that. So don't be shy. Go ahead and chat in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself or raise your hand and John will call on you. And I will go ahead and do that for those of you watching live on Workplace. As a reminder, this is going to stay live. Be live streamed in EXP Workplace, and it stays there forever. So you can always go back and you can search my name, search John's name, search listings, and you're going to have all of his past recordings and live streams pop up so you can watch them anytime. So without further ado, happy Wednesday, John. Thanks for being here. I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay. Thanks, Cari.
You're welcome.
As always, it's a pleasure to be here. So let's start with that. And grateful for the opportunity. And let's start with being the local economist of choice. So as a real estate agent and meeting with homeowners and discussing pricing strategy, you want to be able to convey that you are the local economist of choice. And what does that mean? So what that means is you know the local economy better than anybody else does. How many homes are currently on the market, how many homes are active based on price range searches, based on the type of property, as in single family homes, condos, townhomes, how many sold in the last 6 months divided by 30 or divided by 6 in order to determine how many are selling every 30 days. And from that, you're going to find out what supply and demand is. And this is where you really have an opportunity to stand out from your competition. The average real estate agent, when it gets to pricing, they're going to do the same thing that everybody else does, which is they're going to go through the comparables. They're going to talk about average sold per square foot. They're going to talk about how your property compares to the other homes that sold. And then they're going to just average things out, high to low, based on the market. And in a good market, you pretty much pick the price you want, and they're going to put your home on the market at that price. And that might be okay if there's less than 30 days of inventory. And if there's not, it's not going to be okay, because all you're going to do is help sell the competition. And I think part of this is the scripts that we use in dealing with sellers. So let's start with the first one. Our job is not to determine market value. Our job is to determine what the right strategy is in order to get your home sold in less than 30 days so that you could be in Atlanta with your family. We're not looking for market value. We're looking for the right strategy in order to beat the competition, in order to get your home sold, so that you can be in Atlanta within 30 days in order to be with your family. Now, when we're looking at a market and let's say there's 90 days of inventory, and I'm having a conversation with Matthew. His camera's on. Hi, Matthew, good to see you. His camera's on, so I'm gonna use him as my talk to. There's 9 homes currently for sale between 700 and 750,000 within a 1 to 2 mile radius of your home. Now there's 3 selling every 30 days, which means we have 3 months of inventory. It also means that in order for you to sell your home, you've got to be one of the top 3 homes. Now, a lot of homeowners make a mistake here and they think, no worries, 90 days of inventory, my home will definitely sell within 90 days because everything will be gone. The challenge with that is, of course, there's new homes entering the market every day. And 30 days from now, there might be 4 months of inventory, maybe even more. And now it's going to be even harder to sell your home because you have more competition. At any point, in order to get your home sold, it's going to have to be, at this point right now, it's going to have to be one of the top 3, because that's somebody you're selling every 30 days. it's going to have to be one of the top 3 homes out of the 9 that are currently for sale. Now, how do you beat the competition? Location, condition, price. If your home is in the best location compared to the competition, in other words, you back to a beautiful lake versus one of your homes you're competing against back to a road, then you're in a better location. Condition, your home is newer and it's more updated. And then finally, price. Now, what you're looking for is you want to be top 25% in condition and bottom 25% in price. If you're both of those, then strategically you've positioned yourself to be one of the 3 that are going to sell. Now, Cari, one of the things that I would do at the listing table is after we've agreed on price, and it's more price strategy than it is price. After we've agreed on price, we're going to talk about what's going to happen. We're going to set up the first price reduction. In other words, Matthew, what we're looking for now that we're putting your home on the market is we're looking for an average of at least 1 to 2 showings a week. So in 4 weeks, if we haven't had at least 6 showings, then the market's rejected our offer. And after 10 showings, we should get an offer. So if we've had 10 showings and no offers, then the market's rejected the offer as well. Now, if that happens, I'm going to reach out to you and we're going to talk about a price improvement in order to put you in a better position to be the shining star and be the one out of all the other properties that are competing to sell, so that buyers will choose your home out of all of the other properties that are available. The other thing that we're going to talk about here is, and the reason I look in $50,000 price ranges is because that's how buyers look. And it's really amazing to me when I see a listing agent put a property on the market like at $805,000. I'm like, okay, $795,000, you're in a completely different market. At $805,000, you're competing with homes that are priced from $800,000 to $850,000. Now, just out of curiosity, one of the questions that I would ask that seller is, if you had an offer next week for $795,000, what would you do? Now, most of the time you're going to hear, well, I'd sell it. Yeah, so would I. And the buyer that would give you $795,000 may not even know your home is for sale, because they're looking up to $800,000. They're not looking above $800,000. What you're doing is you're fishing with your bait out of the water. You see, if you were to go on a boat and you know where the fish are and you have the best boat money can buy, you have the best fishing equipment money can buy, you have the right bait, you even go to the right spot. I mean, the fish are right here, and you hang your bait 3 feet above the water. How many fish are you going to catch? Now, somebody in the room is always going to say, well, if it's a flying fish, and no, there's no flying fish. How many fish are you going to catch? And the answer is 0. You got to get down there where the fish are. So when you're looking at price points, the key thing to remember is $100,000 is the biggest break. So anything just above or just below $100,000 increments is huge. The next largest break is $50,000. So again, there's a big difference between a property that's listed at $757,000 and $747,000. It's only a $10,000 difference. However, it could be the difference between a home selling and a home not selling. Because if I'm not visible to the right buyer, then my home's not going to sell. Now, sellers go to script school too. And the good news is they only have a couple scripts. And one of the scripts they have is, a buyer could always make an offer, or we could always lower the price. Now, the challenge with that is a buyer cannot make an offer if they don't see your home. They've got to see your home in order to make an offer. And at $757,000, that buyer that would give you $747,000 may never even see your home. Now, here's the other thing. If your home is priced at $757,000 and there's 2 other homes that buyer likes just as much as yours, One of them is priced at $750, the other one is priced at $749. And they like your home as much as they like the others. They're pretty equal in location and condition, size, and all of that. Whose home are they going to make an offer on? Not yours. They're going to start with the property that is best priced, and they're going to make an offer on that home. So buyer can always make an offer, that's true. However, not if there's a better home at a better price on the market that you're competing with. Not if they can't see your home because it's above the water, it's out of the market. Now we can always lower the price later. Here's the challenge with that. The best time to get your home sold is the first 30 days. If you looked at a graph from 0 days to 180 days, in the first 30 days that your home is on the market, you're going to get the greatest amount of activity. That's the greatest number of people who are looking at your home. Now, they may not be physically walking in the front door, but they're looking at your home online. Now, what typically happens when a seller says to me, John, we can always lower the price later, and I give in and say, okay, you're right. And we take that listing at $757, and 30 days later, they come back to me and they say, okay, you were right. Let's go ahead and lower the price to $747. Well, the problem with that is if you've got a lot of competition, because 10,000 doesn't sound like a big deal, but it could be when there's a lot of competition. The problem with that is you could have missed the best opportunity to get your home sold. Now, 90 days later, we've been on the market for 120 days, and so a buyer comes in, they love your home. The first question they're going to ask is, how long has it been on the market? Real estate agent's going to say 120 days. Now, when you hear 120 days, what's your first thought?
What's wrong with it?
Oh, good. Somebody was listening. Thank you, Tulio. All right. What's wrong with it? Real estate agent says nothing. It's a great house. Now I'll answer the next question. So what's the buyer's first thought? Opportunity. Opportunity to do what? Get a great deal. So the buyer comes in with an offer of $725. And the seller's motivation is greater at 120 days than it was at 30 days. They might even be desperate by that time. And what ends up happening is they sell their home for $725 when they could have sold for $747 in less than 30 days. They end up losing $20,000 trying to make an extra $10,000. And you've got an additional 90 days of holding costs. Let's say it's $4,000 a month. That's another $12,000 that you've lost, or $12,000 that you paid not to sell your home. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into positioning your listing at the right price in order to get it sold within 30 days. You're always going to hear me say within 30 days because it's always within 30 days. If it's not the first 30 days, it's the second 30 days. And it's always 30 days because there's going to be a certain number of homes that sell every 30 days. In order for you to sell, you have to be one of them. So I'm always going to reference sell your home in 30 days because that's the goal. Now, sticking my glasses on my head, Cari, just so I can see. So, that's 12 minutes that I've been talking without taking a breath. That almost puts me in rare air with Cari. Although I could never match you, Cari. And all we've talked about so far is getting the initial list price. Hopefully the aha that you're getting is this is really, really important. As the market shifts and you start looking at 4 months of inventory, 5 months of inventory, 6 months of inventory. Guys, 6 months of inventory means there's 12 homes for sale. Your competition is 12 properties. There's 2 selling every 30 days. In order for you to sell your listing, it's got to be one of the top 2. And it'll get worse than that because the market depends on the location, depends on the price, it depends on the type of property. You could have 6 months of inventory on one side of the street and a year of inventory on the other side in another neighborhood. It just depends. And this gets really, really critically important when you know that okay, there's 2 selling every 30 days, there's 12 to choose from. I've sat at the kitchen table, Cari, for an hour over $5,000 because it made that big of a difference. Let's transition into price reductions. If I'm calling Cari and I'm looking for a price reduction, one of the questions I'm going to ask is, if we got an offer, and I'll use the same example, that 757 number. If we got an offer for $750,000 tomorrow, what would you do? Now, they're probably going to say I would counter the offer. That's a cool answer, guys. Go with it. If we countered and the buyer came back and the highest they're willing to go or they're walking away is $750, what would you do? They're probably going to say sell it. My experience says they're going to say I'd sell the house. What if it was $745? What if that was as high as they were willing to go? What if it was either $745 or you're not selling your home? What if it was $745 or you're still in your home 6 months from now? What would you do? Where does your heart stop? Write that down. Where does your heart stop? At what point are you not selling your home? Shock them, okay? If you really need to get a price reduction, shock them. What do I mean by that? So the asking price is $757. What if the offer was $720? I'm not going to give my home away. I get it. And what if it wasn't giving your home away? What if the market says that's what your home is worth? Now, if you hear, well, I'm just not selling, be unattached to the outcome. The best thing you could do at every point from the time you schedule the appointment through 6 months on the market is don't be attached to the outcome. You never want the seller's home to sell more than they do. If they don't want to sell their home, I'm cool with that. And I'm going to tell them that. And if they say, well, I'm just not going to sell my home, my answer is that's great. If you don't want to sell your home, I understand. And if you don't sell your home, just out of curiosity, what's plan B? Now, if they're moving, what do you think plan B is? It's to rent the house. When they say that, ask them, if you were to rent your home, by the way, that might be the right thing to do. However, if you were to rent your home, what's your greatest fear? You know, one of the things, and one of the things I learned from being in group coaching every morning, Cari, is real estate agents, when we're practicing these scripts, they get nervous and they feel like they got to fill in the quiet space. And they start asking multiple choice questions. Don't do that. In other words, a multiple choice question would be, what's your greatest fear? Are you afraid that they're not paying rent or that you're going to have to evict them? Or no, don't give them the answers. Just ask them, if you were to rent your home, what's your greatest fear? And it's okay for there to be silence. By the way, anytime you ask somebody a question and there's silence, it means they're thinking, which means you've asked a good question, which is your job. What's your greatest fear? Now, you're probably going to hear, well, I get somebody who's not paying the rent. Yeah, I agree. That would be one of my greatest fears. And if that were to happen, how long would it take to evict them? How much damage could they do to your home in the meantime? And 6 months later, you get your home back after evicting the homeowner or the tenant with $20,000 in damage, and you haven't collected rent for 6 months. Are you okay with that? Now you're just going to hear no. There's no, yeah, I'm good with that. The only person who would say I'm good with that is an investor who owns multiple properties. A homeowner would never say that. And when they say, no, I'm not okay with that, then your next question is, so now what's plan B? Now you really got them. Now they're really going to be quiet because they don't know. Well, I'll just wait until the market gets better. So in 2008, if you and I were having this same conversation, waiting until the market got better would have been 9 years later. That would have been 2017. Now, what if this time is like that time? What if it's 9 years until the market gets better? Are you still waiting? Cari, how are we doing so far? Good? Okay. Guys, the same
Great.
conversation happens when you're presenting offers. So I call Cari, I've got an offer. First of all, always, hey, Cari, John Dietz, great news. We have an offer. It's never, hey, Cari, it's John Dietz. Oh my gosh. You know, I just hate to do this, Cari, but you know, the law says I have to. Got this really lousy offer. You're going to be mad, but you know, I have to tell you anyways. And she's like, yeah, go ahead. What is it? 720. Yeah, tell them to take a hike. Got it. Done. Now, same buyer, same offer. Hey, Cari, John Dietz. Great news. We have an offer. Cari's excited. She says, awesome. What's the offer? 720,000. That's not great news. It's a horrible offer. That's Cari's response. My response is, it's better than the offer we got yesterday, Cari. Her response is, we didn't get an offer. I know, that's why it's better. Yes, for real, I would do that and have.
Yeah, because an offer is an offer. You actually have somebody interested in your property. That is good news.
Yeah.
I mean, you have nothing to work with. You have nothing to work with. We have somebody who likes your property, and whether or not you like their offer, it's still good news that somebody wants to purchase your property. So now we just have to work out the details.
That's right. Let's go back to that same example. So there's 12 homes for sale. 4 are selling every 30 days. We'll make it a 90-day supply. Now, Cari, what that means, out of the 12 homes, they picked yours to make an offer on. So instead of getting mad at these buyers for making a low offer, why don't we get mad at all the other buyers who looked at your home and didn't make you an offer? Now, what I'm hearing is you're not happy with the offer. Cool. You have a couple options. You can counter, or you can simply reject the offer. We can actually ignore the offer, and eventually it'll time out. So if I can make a recommendation, I would suggest you make a counter offer. In other words, Cari, they offered 720. What does an offer look like that you would accept? And what usually is going to happen when somebody comes in this low is the seller is, if they give up anything, they're going to give up just a little bit. She responds with 755. Cool. Cari, I'm going to call them and I'm going to give them a counter offer. Now, if they walk, which is fine with me if it's fine with you, by the way. If they walk and we find out later that they would have come up to 750, and your home is still for sale 6 months from now, are you okay with that? If you're okay with that, I am. You really have to do a good job here of letting them know this is not a commission conversation. This is, I don't care if I sell this home. I'm going to get paid because I'm selling homes. I'm not attached to the outcome. All right. Now, Cari says, yeah, John, that's it, 755. So I call the buyer agent back. Matthew's the buyer agent. Hey, Matthew, John Dietz, great news. I've got a counter offer. It's the same thing. He's like, what's the counter offer, John? They came down to 755. He's like, that's horrible. And now I have to teach the other real estate agent how to sell real estate because they're emotional and they're angry. And I'm like, look, Matthew, here's where we're at. Your buyers love the house. Yes, yes, they love the house. They want the house. Yes, they want the house. Okay, the good news is they can buy it. They're just going to have to come up on their price. And if 755 isn't the right price, come back to me with what the right price is. So Matthew comes back and gives me a counter offer of 740. That's a big jump. Call Cari, great news. We've got, okay, you guys got the point, got the picture. Keep moving those offers closer together until you've got a small gap. Now, how to close a small gap? Let's say that buyer and seller dig their heels into the sand, $10,000 apart, right? There's 4 parties involved in this. There's the seller, the buyer, the listing agent, and the buyer's agent. If we divided that 10,000 by 4, that's $2,500. So there's an option. If everybody will kick in $2,500, we can close the gap. I'm not recommending that you do that. I'm just letting you know that you have that as a tool in your tool belt that you can use if you want to. I'm going to start with Mr. Seller, Mr. Buyer. We're $10,000 apart. If we can meet in the middle, what would that look like? If I can, to the buyer's agent, if I can get the seller down $5,000, can you get your buyer up $5,000? Nope, we've gone as far as we can go. Okay, then the conversation becomes, if we can do something to make this deal happen, what does that look like? And I'm really careful, Cari, that not to ask the buyer's agent to give up money. So I'm asking a very open-ended question. In other words, Cari, if you and I could do something to make this deal come together, what does that look like? And if Cari's a professional, she's going to respond with something that sounds like, I'm willing to do something, but not much. Yeah, me neither. However, if we can give in just a little bit, maybe we can get the buyer and seller to move as well. Now, I'm going to work this deal like it's the only one we're ever going to get, because I don't know if we're going to get more offers. We may not. And I'm going to keep working this. So, Cari, I'll share a funny story if that's okay. All right. So Tulia, this is up in one of your neighborhoods where you have a listing up in Newport Richie, one of my waterfront listings on Sand Dollar. This was many years ago. I met with them, husband and wife, and they wanted $550,000 for their home. Now, at the time, that was a ridiculous price. It really was. And when I did supply and demand, there were 3 years of inventory. 3 years. That's a lot. 36 homes for sale, 3 selling every 30 days. All right, do the math. And the home is worth $485. Comps out at $485. It's not worth $550. There's no chance. However, absolutely the nicest looking home in the neighborhood, best view, direct access to the Gulf of Mexico, no bridges. Matter of fact, it's right there. And I'm thinking there's a chance. There's a chance we could sell this. So Cari, I took the listing. I shouldn't have, but I did. And 30 days later, we get an offer. Now there's 3 years of inventory. And in 30 days, we get an offer. I'm super excited. Guess where the offer comes in? 485. I call the seller. Great news. We have an offer. Now, imagine this husband and wife. They've got grandkids and they're selling the house because they want to get closer to the grandkids. Well, she wants to get closer to the grandkids. He's actually hoping the home doesn't sell. That's the only reason he agreed to list it, is because he knew the price was ridiculous. Should have seen his face when I told him we got an offer. He's like, what? And when I told him what the offer was, he's like, yeah, no way, we're not budging. Well, after spending about a half hour on the phone with them, I got them to come down $5,000. True story. Called the buyer's agent, shared it with the buyer's agent. They responded with, that's ridiculous. My response was, look, these sellers don't really care if their home sells. Matter of fact, I think they don't want to sell it. And if your buyers really want this house, they're just going to have to come up. Well, we went back and forth, and I don't want to take a lot of time to do this. And eventually the buyer came up to $445,000, $5,000 below the asking price. It went under contract. Now this guy's really not happy with me. Matter of fact, Cari, when I went over to the house to sign the contract, we're sitting around this round table, and he's here and she's there, and you know, he likes his guns. And he's got one of them sitting out right at the table where I sit down. I'm like, okay, I know you're not happy, but can we put that away? So property goes under contract. We get an appraisal. The appraisal comes in at, guess what? $485,000. I go to the seller. The appraisal came in at 485. What does that mean? Well, it means that either the buyer is going to have to come up with the additional cash to purchase your house, or you're going to have to come down to 485 to sell your home. No way, we're not doing that. Just cancel the contract. Go to the buyer's agent, share this whole conversation with them. Long story short, the buyers came up with the additional cash and bought the house for $445,000. Should have never sold. I'm sure those homeowners, that at least him, that he still probably doesn't like me very much. She's happy. He's not. All right, Cari, I think I've been going nonstop for just over 30 minutes now. I'm going to pause for a moment and give you an opportunity to ask me anything you want me to talk about. And if there's anybody else that wants to have a conversation on pricing, if there's anything that I haven't covered.
Yes. Anybody, let me ask those of you that are here, because I don't see any chats in the chat box. So Tulio, Matthew, Gina, Alina, Jackson, anybody have anything they want to ask John first and foremost? Anybody dealing with price reductions, price changes, low offers, and anything that has happened that you just want to bring up and talk through? Don't be shy.
No, not in particularly, but I've dealt with what John's talked about a lot, but that's why it's really critical, right? It's hard, and that's the difficult part of when you're working with a seller like that. That's been that kind of hard-headed a little bit, but yeah. I think you mentioned, John, at the end, you said that the purchase price was 445, but it appraised at 485, or was it?
Oh, 545. Yeah.
Oh, 545.
List price was 550. Sold for 545, $5,000.
Oh, but it's appraised at 485. Okay.
485. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The buyer's way overpaid for the property.
Yeah.
Because they wanted it. It was unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, I think you're breaking it down to the months of supply of inventory really hones it in and makes it really clear to the seller whether they're very versed in selling real estate, or maybe it's their first time selling a home or second time. It really gets them to focus on the competition rather than, is my price home at what I think it's valued at.
It's a completely different conversation than they've ever had unless they've met with somebody like you, Tulio, because most real estate agents don't talk like this. I'm a local economist of choice. I know the local market better than anybody else does. I am a strategic pricing professional. In other words, I understand the psychology of pricing your home in order to beat the competition, in order to sell your home within a period of time that you want to sell it in order to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
When you're doing a needs analysis, and Tulio, we've talked about this. So and Tulio's part of, well, you know that, Cari, never mind. When you're doing a needs analysis and you ask them what needs to happen for you to feel that this was a successful experience, you know, scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you're not happy and 10 being it's a home run. What needs to happen in the sale of your home for you to feel the experience was a success? Almost 90% of the time, the very first answer you're going to hear is get my price. Now, real estate agents think that's the most important thing because it's the first thing they hear. It's not the most important thing. The most important thing is for their home to sell so they can move wherever they're moving within a time period that they want to be there. That's the most important thing.
Right.
So, Jackson, I'm gonna have to ask you what that means.
You're Superman, buddy.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I did not connect those dots. I'm thinking Krypton, where is that?
He's like, is this good or bad?
I was almost afraid to ask, Cari, because I'm thinking,
I love it.
what did I do?
No, you did good. That's awesome. This is really, really good stuff. I'm going to try to take some of these really great scripts and transcribe them. As I mentioned, there's a few others from the past calls that we've done too. So watch for that because, you know, sometimes it's just about, it is always about internalizing these things and then being able to, you know, come up with it and say it so much in your own words with your own personality, just exactly how John does, because he's done it for so long. And it comes out genuine, even though it's a script. It comes out conversational, even though it's a script. And we all have, you know, not all of us, but many people have shared with me, they have limiting beliefs around scripts, but we all use them. It's just a matter of, are we using the right ones or not? Have we internalized the ones that work or not? We've internalized something, you know, one way or the other. So getting, you know, some of these fantastic scripts that absolutely work from John is invaluable. And now it's our job to continue to read them and listen to them and internalize them and make them our own. Matthew, do you have something to share too?
I was going to say, I know you're going to transcribe those scripts. I actually bought John's book and it's really reasonable on Amazon and it's called Rainmaker and I use it. It's all his scripts are in there. And I also want to say, you know, do you know John Tsai? He's the president of EXP Canada.
Uh-huh.
Well, I was on a role play call with him this morning with a bunch of people. I never step up, if you know how Clubhouse works. I never step up to talk. I always just listen. But when I logged on this morning, it put me up there and he's like, Matthew Taylor, okay, I go, what? I was trying to get out of the room and I go, oh my God. He's like, you're here already. Just let's do it. I go, oh, okay. So I did John's Fizbo script.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, they go, oh my God, that was really good. You're good at this. And then this other guy that's my coach and sponsor. And I was like, oh, thank you, John Dietz. I was trying to get out of the room, but he's so good. Yeah, you're right, Jackson. He is Superman. He's the best.
And I just reminded people where they can buy John's book in our live stream. So if you want to go back and look at that, you can later. Thank you for mentioning that, Matt. I know John won't mention it. So it's good that you did. John's like, no, I'm not going to talk about that. Awesome. Any other questions or thoughts or ideas or just some help that you need in anything relating to listings at all before we wrap up with John? As we have him here on the call, it's just, you know, an awesome opportunity to ask him a question if you have one. All right. So get out there, make sure you get some more listings, make sure those listings are priced appropriately, use these scripts, grab John's book, join us again next Wednesday for a training. If you are interested in revenue share, don't forget 1 p.m. Eastern on Mondays, we do our revenue share huddle for everybody every week. Love to see you there if that's something that you're focusing on as well. Thanks for being here, John. Appreciate you as always. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Cari.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, guys.